What made your deployment buddy stop answering your calls after coming home? My best friend was this guy named Nolan Briggs. We went through basic training together, deployed together, shared a bunk in the same tent for 15 months. Nolan was the kind of guy who made deployment bearable, always cracking jokes during the worst moments. When mortars hit the base at 3 a.m., he'd yell free fireworks show while we ran for the bunkers. We talked about everything, our families back home, what we'd do when we got out. He wanted to open a motorcycle shop in Colorado. I was planning to use my GI Bill for engineering school. Made a pact that we'd stay close after discharge. Visit each other, stay in touch, not become those veterans who lose contact and drift apart. The flight home was surreal. 15 hours of trying to process that we'd actually survived. Nolan sat next to me the whole way, neither of us sleeping much. At the airport, we hugged goodbye. I'll call you next week, he promised. We'll grab beers and celebrate being alive. I called him 3 days later. No answer. Left a voicemail. Figured he was busy with family, readjusting to civilian life. Totally normal. Called again a week later. Nothing. Sent texts, all unread. After a month, I started worrying. Reached out to other guys from our unit. They said the same thing. Nolan wasn't answering anyone. I drove 6 hours to his parents' house in Tennessee. His mom answered the door, eyes red from crying. He won't come out of his room. Hasn't left the house in weeks. Won't talk to anyone, not even us. She let me inside. I knocked on his bedroom door. Nolan, it's me. Let me in, brother. Silence. Then quietly, go away. Not happening. I drove 6 hours. You're talking to me. More silence. Then the lock clicked. Door opened just enough for me to slip inside. The room was dark. Curtains drawn. Nolan sat on his bed, looked like he'd aged 10 years in 2 months. Hadn't shaved, barely eating based on how thin he'd gotten. You shouldn't have come, he said, not looking at me. Why'd you ghost everyone? He stared at the floor. Because you all remind me. Remind you of what? That's when he told me. The thing he'd been carrying alone. Remember that mortar attack where Nolan made the fireworks joke? I'd run to the bunker immediately. Made it to safety. Assumed Nolan was right behind me like always. He wasn't. He'd stopped to help Private Curtis Eldridge, a new guy who'd frozen up in fear. Nolan grabbed him, started dragging him toward cover. The second mortar hit close. Really close. Nolan threw himself over Curtis, shielding him with his own body. They both survived. Curtis got minor shrapnel wounds. Nolan walked away without a scratch. Pure luck. But here's what I didn't know. What nobody knew. 3 months later, Curtis died. Not from injuries. He took his own life 2 weeks after we got home. Curtis had called Nolan that night, left a voicemail saying goodbye, thanking him for saving his life in Iraq. Said he was sorry for wasting that sacrifice. Nolan found out the next morning. Felt like he'd saved Curtis from a mortar just to lose him to something he couldn't see or fight. I keep thinking, what was the point? Nolan's voice cracked. I risked my life for him. Thought I'd saved him, but I didn't save him at all. Just delayed it. I sat there, not knowing what to say. What do you say to that? Every time you call, every time anyone from the unit contacts me, I remember Curtis. Remember his voice on that voicemail thanking me. I can't handle it. We sat in that dark room for 3 hours. I didn't try to fix anything, just sat with him. Finally, I said, you know what Curtis's mom told me at his funeral? She said those extra months you gave him were everything. He got to come home, see his family, tell them he loved them. Without you, he'd have died in Iraq and they'd never have gotten that closure. Nolan looked at me for the first time. That's not enough. No, it's not. Nothing's ever enough, but it mattered. I didn't hear from Nolan for another 6 months. Started to accept that maybe our friendship was over. Sometimes deployment bonds don't survive coming home. Then one morning my phone rang. Nolan's voice, sounding more like himself. Hey, you still want to grab those beers? We met at a bar halfway between our houses. Talked for hours. He'd started therapy, joined a veterans group, was slowly putting himself back together. I'm not answering everyone's calls yet, he admitted, but I'm working on it. You were right. Curtis got extra time because of what happened. His family got to say goodbye. That has to mean something. Last month, Nolan opened his motorcycle shop in Colorado. Invited me to the grand opening. Above the register, he hung a photo of our entire unit from Iraq. Curtis is in the front row, smiling. Underneath, a small plaque reads, "In memory of Curtis Eldridge. Every day is a gift." Nolan still has hard days, still struggles with survivor's guilt, but he answers my calls now. That's enough.